nuggets of knowledge that you would have if you had ever sought to make deliveries across borders, whether within or without the European Union. And he introduced us to the reality of what it would be like to be what is known as a third country, which we become at midnight on New Year's Eve. And that point is the point at which moving from the UK into, for example, France could become as complicated as moving from Poland into, for example, Ukraine. And he has been proven, I think, even more right than me about everything. Is that a fair comment, Ciaran?
Yeah, you described the Poland-Ukraine border, which regularly takes 24, 36, 48 hours to cross over, same as the Terahova border in Latvia into Russia. There was queues this month of 50 hours.
50 hours?
50 hours with 600 trucks. So if you figure 6,000 in and out of Dover, with a ferry crossing there on land, you only have to imagine what it's going to be like in the customs formalities. So,
and this isn't. I mean, what worries me about this is we still don't know whether there's going to be a deal. I suspect it's less likely now than it was on Friday. But even I work on the presumption that we'll muddle through and then things will get better. But what you're describing is a sort of permanence on the crossings between European Union countries and non-European Union countries. Did you think, Ciaran, that there was possibly some sort of third way? Because I think I was susceptible to the idea that because we'd been members for so long, we wouldn't be exactly the same as a country that had no previous membership or relationship with the European Union. So where are you now?
I think it's very easy to talk about what a border may look like, but you can never envisage it until it actually happens. Yeah. Obviously, if you had an arrangement sort of like the Swiss do or the Norwegians do, don't forget their traffic flows are much, much lower than what the UK's are through the ports, and they're also overland. You still have lengthy queues going into Basel most mornings of 10 to 15 kilometres of trucks trying to get into the car parks. Same with Norway. If you go to Spinesland up from Sweden, I've had friends stuck there with pharmaceuticals that have been there for 12, 14, 15 hours that they regularly posted on Facebook. There's a problem with their paperwork. So they're one of the easier borders to navigate, if you like. Once you get into a third country border, obviously I wouldn't honestly know what it's like to cross. I mean, Turkey still has an arrangement of a customs union with the European Union, but no freedom of movement, and they've got massive queues on their borders, just like the Ukraine has an arrangement with the European Union. The borders are huge. You just got to look to Russia and Latvia and the external periphery of these borders into the European Union to see how bad they are. I think what's happening at the moment, nobody foresaw it, that the commercial traffic would be shut. I thought even it would be open.
How long do you think it will stay shut for? And to be clear, I don't think, I mean, there may be some diplomacy involved, some sabre rattling. Obviously, announcing that we were going to send gunboats into the English Channel last week could now be construed as a slightly silly thing to have done to our French allies. But the closure of the ports, I don't think is Brexity, is it? It's pure coronavirus. What do you...
Look, if you look at what happened in Belarus, they more or less shut the border with Lithuania. Yeah. It all comes down to your relations with your closest neighbours.
Yes.
Well, as you say, when you threaten to send in gunboats to monitor French fishermen, there's going to be a retaliative measure.
Well, that's that really, isn't it? We spent 5 years insulting all of our European friends and neighbours.
Look, I went out on Thursday night. It took me 10 hours to cross. I don't know if you saw the video I put on Twitter.
Yeah, I did, mate.
I sat there. I had an hour and a half sleep. I was late for my delivery into Paris. I didn't make my delivery into Heathrow on the way back. It failed, and this is exactly what I said would happen through no fault of your own. You may get over. Yeah. You may get to do your deliveries. You will not meet the time constraints that many companies require their goods to move backwards and forwards, i.e. production lines, cars,
just-in-time manufacturing,
aerospace. Comes off a van onto a production line, it will fail.
Now, I should remind listeners, this is all what used to be known as Project Fear.
Absolutely. Look, I'm going to Poland. I've got a job. I'm loading on Wednesday. I've taken no chances. I've managed to get a ferry out from Harwich to the Hook of Holland. It's far from ideal. It's a 7-8 hour crossing. I've got to be in Poland on the 29th. I'll be in Calais on the 31st. I'm coming back empty. I'm not coming back with commercial goods, because if there is no deal, or if there's customs, I'll be honest, I have an agent. I have absolutely no idea what's going to happen. And this all comes down to how prepared are you?
Yeah.
I've been prepared for 4 years. I've always had a customs agent. I know what the formalities are. You don't know what the formalities are going to be in Calais coming into Dover. You just do not know. You cannot prepare for this. So I'm witnessing firsthand what's happening. I was lucky to get a client's goods out of the UK, which I must add was an entire collection of incredibly expensive goods that they're clearing out of the UK. This is what's happening. People are leaving en masse with goods before Brexit Day. And it's what I'm taking out to Poland. I'm taking it out before customs formalities come in. You know, they even asked me, what will it be like in January? I said, I do not know. I couldn't give an answer. So it's got to get out beforehand. So, you know, I might get out. I might get back in. I don't know what's going to happen. But what's happening at the moment with all the truck drivers parked up on the M20, no toilets, no food, no sanitary conditions, and they're all sitting there for a minimum of 2 days. And what I think may happen, James...
2 days?
Well, they're going to be there for 2 days, for 48 hours, right? Because the commercial traffic has completely been shut, apart from if you send your trailer over
and then
unaccompanied.
No, I understand. And just in conclusion, you can't wash your face long-term commercially if you're coming back without a load, can you, if I understand your industry? The reason...
No. Most people charge one way, otherwise it becomes uncompetitive, or you have an arrangement with other people to bring goods in from Europe, so you load out one way, load back the other. If you start charging double, triple rates to get out, it makes you uncompetitive. It makes the people sending goods out the UK to Europe uncompetitive, because the transport costs will increase 2 or 3-fold. So, for instance, if you charge £1,000 to send goods out to Paris, and it takes you 8 hours with the freedom of movement of goods and yourself and capital and everything. If it takes 2 or 3 days to get out and to get back in, you're looking at maybe 4 or 5 days to do a Paris.
I mean, COVID has made everything worse. So when I credit you with having called all of this and predicted all of this, it's with the constant caveat that coronavirus makes everything worse than it would have been, worse than it needed to be. But that said, you know, the whole point of leadership is to be prepared for all manner of calamities. What, right now, Ciaran, what's the best horizon you can imagine?
I think, if we're lucky, the French may open the border, but you may well require a private COVID test before you can get on a ferry, which is not very easy for all the truck drivers stuck down in Kent. You can't just get people coming en masse to do a private COVID test and give you a QR code onto your phone. And you can imagine what sort of delays that's going to create if they do it in the ports. It's not a case of just taking your temperature anymore. They did it when I went to Spain on the ferry. They took the temperature before I got off the boat.
Right. And we never really got our head around that. Well, you keep in touch, won't you? Because I know, I can tell that you've got your feet up today, because we've been struggling to get you on the show over the last few days. Every time we talked to you...
I had a manic week last week.
I know you did. Every time we got hold of you, you were stuck in a queue here or loading up there. And I think at one point you were locked in your cab having a bit of a ding-dong with one of your customers because tempers are going to be running very short. I mean... You know me, Ciaran. I'm desperate to ask you if there's anything that could be described as a glimmer of hope and positivity. But, of course, when I ask you that question, if the answer's negative, there's always the danger that I've ended up making things even worse than they were before I asked you in the first place. But let me ask you, any glimmers of hope or positivity?
I put on Twitter last night, does this lockdown feel much more depressing than last? And I actually posted that before the French closed the border. Yeah. And I think this is the most depressing one, because everything's literally locked into an island on the periphery of Europe as a third country in the cold with no help. And you've got Brexit coming. 4 years, and we still don't know what it's going to look like. And we've got a matter of days. I think it's an absolute disgrace.
Well,
and it's all of their making. All of it is of their making. I'm sorry. You're going out. You're coming into a crisis right at the moment because of COVID and the queues and no commercial traffic flows through any of the ports apart from the Netherlands. That may change. I booked a ticket, as I say, to the Hook of Holland. Yeah. That may change. I don't know. I've taken the risk and bought the ticket. But you've got that, and then you've got the threat of a no deal, and they claim it's all going to be great and we're going to thrive.
There's thrive either way is the phrase du jour. We're going to thrive whatever happens, which is, shall we say, optimistic. Ciaran, mate, you look after yourself. We will speak again sooner, probably, rather than later. And Ciaran, affectionately known as the van driver, has been shown to be right about everything, which is only partly a compliment. It's also a statement of the bleeding obvious, because he does this sort of stuff for a living. And I'm fairly confident that John Redwood doesn't. I'm late for the news. It's 10:33. Holly Jones is here with your headlines.
Boris